everybody, and welcome to episode 77 of the This Old Knit podcast. I am your host, Nina, otherwise known as Ine on Ravelry, Instagram, and Pinterest. And you can find show notes for this episode on the episode thread of the This Old Knit podcast group in Ravelry. So hi everybody, how have you been? It's been 3 weeks, and there's good reason for that. Last weekend, our house got flooded. It didn't actually get into the house, but we had it pretty much up to the edge of our deck, so we left the house just to be safe and went to my mom's, and we stayed the night. And then by the time we got home and kind of got everything settled back in, and I still had to do, laundry and all that stuff to get ready for the week and cooking and shopping, I just didn't have time to record a podcast last weekend. So sorry about that, but Mother Nature had other ideas for all of us. I have a bit of a cold. It's not terrible, but it's like that just on the edge of being wanting to medicate it. Joshua and Megwin both have it as well, so just occasionally we get a productive cough and just some sinusy stuff, but it's not too bad. It's manageable. I may or may not cough, and I don't know if I'll have time to edit a lot. If I have a lot of time to edit, I try to cut that kind of stuff out, but if I don't, I sort of just power through and just cut out the stuff where I really need to. Other podcasters know what I'm talking about. Podcasting is like an all-day event, from recording to getting it onto your computer, and then doing all the editing, finding pictures I want to insert, putting in the music. It takes a while. And then I watch it again after I've got it all edited and everything, so that I can write out the show notes, and I compress it to YouTube format, upload it to YouTube. I usually do that overnight because it takes several hours, and if I try to do it during prime time, it slows down the internet connection for everyone else in the house, and usually everybody's streaming video at that point of the day, so the internet in general is just a little bit more laggy. So anyway, I just put it on to upload before I go to sleep, and then I publish in the morning. So I was trying really, really hard to get the Oracle shawl done, but I did not succeed. I still have one more chart section to do. The last one, you work the chart twice. So I still need to do that, and then of course the epic bind off, because it's an I-cord bind off, so that in and of itself is probably going to be a few hours of time, because it's well over 1,000 stitches at the end of it. So it will be quite an undertaking, because I-cord is working every stitch twice. But it'll be beautiful, and it'll be worth it. I do not mind at all. This has been such a fun knit. So I will go ahead and share that with you now. Let me just shove it on the needles a little bit more, because I was working it, so it's of course right up at the edge. I do not have a lifeline in it. This shawl does not want to have lifelines. It doesn't. I've tried putting in lifelines 3 times, and every time it made it so difficult to slide the stitches on the needles that it was very unpleasant to knit it. And I found myself making excuses for why I didn't want to knit on it, and then as soon as I cut the lifeline back out, smooth sailing. So I just decided, whatever, I'll just tink back every time that I make a mistake, and I have made plenty of mistakes, but I'd rather do that than have the knitting process itself be unpleasant for me, because I am definitely a process knitter more than a product knitter. I enjoy just the act of knitting. I love the stitches. I love seeing all the different colors coming out. So to me, like, having something at the end is like a bonus, but I don't even care. which is why I enjoy knitting vanilla socks and just seeing all the different yarns. It's also why I'm obsessed with indie dyed yarn. So, the Oracle Shawl. This is a test knit for a pattern by Volanvine, who is the host of the Yarngasm podcast and the dyer behind Volanvine Yarns. And Kristen has done an amazing job with this pattern. So mine is done in 3 colors of Volanvine and actually 3 bases of Volanvine as well, which I've mentioned before. I'm going to hold it by the needles just so they don't slip. There's literally so many stitches that a 60-inch cable is not really enough. It's still really bunched up on a 60-inch cable, so it's going to be gigantic when it is blocked. So my middle one, my color A, is Stardust, and it is on the blitzed base. I'll see if I probably can't get the sparkle to come out. I have weird lighting. Sorry, but I love that little swirl in the middle. It just makes me so happy. Then that goes into my color B, which is Dead Calm. That is on her Nouveau base, which is a singles. And then my color C is Lady of the Lake, and that is on her Volca base. And that's my final lace section here is in that as well. And then I will bind off with the Dead Calm. I love how these colors work together. I knew I wanted to use Lady of the Lake, which I had in my stash, and Kristen actually gave me the idea for this yarn pairing. So I was like, what would go with that? Actually, she said she dyed some Dead Calm, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been wanting Dead Calm for so long. So I wanted to do those 2 colors together, and then I was like, but I don't know what to do as the 3rd color. And she suggested Stardust, which I love because it has those greens and blues in it. So it works so nicely together. I love it. It's been super fun. So this part, this brioche part, I actually didn't get an edit of the pattern, so I had increased up to the final stitch count, and I did the brioche section at the bigger stitch count. And I was telling Kristen, I'm running out of the Stardust. And then we figured out it was because I was doing double the amount of stitches. So mine will actually be different than the final product, because only this big lace section should be at that really high stitch count. It's fine. It'll work out okay. But I had literally nothing left of the Stardust. I think I've got it in here. Let me show you because it's hilarious. That's what I have left. Yarn Chicken, right? That is a huge game of Yarn Chicken, but I won. So yeah. I was hoping I could put this in my Gibbon, but it's not happening, guys. That's like enough to tie some Hexie Puffs off, maybe. I have this much left of the Dead Calm. I'm really hoping this is going to be enough for the bind off, because I did that big brioche section at double the stitch count. I'm a little nervous, but Kristen said she had about 20 grams left of this color, her color B, when she was done with the shawl. So I'm hoping that I didn't use more than that extra 20 grams in the brioche section, and that this will be enough. It feels like it'll be enough. I mean, it feels like a lot, but it's also a epic bind off. So we'll see. She said if I ran out, she would dye me some more. I would really only need like a mini skein, I think, if I need anything. That's my Lady of the Lake. So this is how much I have left of that. Like I said, I have one more, one last chart to work. Excuse me, my throat. And she's hoping to release that pattern August 1st. I think most of us that are test knitting it are going to be done with plenty of time. as soon as a few of us successfully got through it, you know, then she can publish it anyway. And I think Tommy from Squirrel Pipe Productions is actually at the same point that I am in her shawl. And then Selma, who, shoot, what is the name of that podcast? Two Tangled Skeins? Yeah, Two Tangled Skeins. She, you know, periodically is on there. I think she's done with hers. So, yep, it should be coming out right on time, guys. And I did not show this last time, but on my project bag that Kristen sewed for me, which I love marshmallows because I'm obsessed with marshmallows. I got a new Progress Keeper several weeks ago from Sugar Tots on Etsy, and I got it specifically to put as a zipper pull on this project bag. And of course, I use my zipper pulls whenever I'm out and about and I need a Progress Keeper. But look at him. Oh my god. Focus on him because he's beautiful. Yes. It's a marshmallow, guys, on a stick. And the chocolate looks like hair. I love his tiny widow's peak. And he's sparkly. Can you see the sparkles? A little bit. It's so blurry. I'm sorry. It's not gonna focus. But anyway, trust me, there's sparkles. It's a sparkly marshmallow. So I love him so much. He's so cute. And he's, yep, on my little marshmallow bag. He makes me smile every time I see him. And I randomly have pink sparkly washi tape in there because when don't you need pink sparkly washi tape? You never know when you might need to bedazzle something. You just don't. I used it just the other day because Megwin wanted to make an I miss you card for her best friend that we just haven't been able to make a play date work this summer. Her parents have had a lot of issues with their parents having health problems. So they've had to drive back and forth to take care of them. So their weekends have just been taken up with that, and they've not been able to make it work with the kids. But we're going to do it before summer's over, which there's not that much time left. But I digress. She made a card, and then Joshua ripped it open, ripped the envelope open, so I taped it everywhere with pink sparkly washi tape. So I think it's even cooler than it was before. So yeah. That is my Oracle shawl. And then my second thing I've been working on is a sock. Oh no, did I not? Shoot. Hang on. So I finished one of my Neapolitan socks in the Felici from my aunt. Now I can't find the half object. I suspect it might be in my daughter's room. Anyway, moving on. Here's my second one, or maybe first one. We'll have to see if I can squeeze a third sock out of what I've got left, which is doubtful. But this is the Knit Picks Felici Sport in Neapolitan. I'm almost done with the leg portion. I think I have 3 more stripes on it, roughly. I'm trying to remember if I had it upstairs with me. I worked from home yesterday, and while I was eating my lunch, I was knitting these. I swore I remembered having it and moving it out of my bag so that I could pull the yarn and not get it caught. On it. I'm using this for the heels and toes. This is No Makers Scruffy Gnome in the Cookies colorway. It actually matches this stripe really well. I love it on the other one. And I was going to show you how good it looked for the toe and the heel, but now I have no idea where those socks are. I'm going to have to tear the house apart to find it. And the odd thing is my house is cleaner than normal right now. So of course I won't be able to find anything because that's how it works when you clean things. You actually don't know where anything is. We live in organized chaos, people. Okay, so sewing. This is what I have successfully completed with sewing. I made a bag. The main fabric is this really pale yellow. Contrast fabric is this gray. And then inside I used this white kind of artistic sand dollars. I did a gray zipper. I forgot to do the ribbon handle, and I think I might actually seam rip, turn it inside out, and sew it in because it's bothering me to not have it. So I wasn't really happy with myself that I finished it all off and then realized I had not put in the grosgrain ribbon that I specifically bought to go with this fabric. Last week was all about sewing fails, and I will share the other one with you soon. Well, now I don't feel motivated to work on these at all until I find the other sock. Dang it. I hate when stuff like that happens. Okay. They're in Hermione's Everyday Sock Pattern. I forgot to mention that. Sorry. Now I'm all discombobulated. Then I am working on something for the Christmas in July Cal that's being hosted in the Bad Wolf Girl Sits and Knits podcast group. So I'm using a Christmas bag because Christmas. And it is knit out of the Yarn at Home Mom Candy Cane Coffee. This is in her, is it basic fingering? I think it's basic fingering. So it's a 75-25 merino nylon base. And here is how it's knitting up. So I finished the leg, and then I'm putting on a heel with some red that I have from a mini. I don't know if I'll have enough of this red to do the toe. I think I'm just going to do contrasting heels, because with a mini skein, there's usually not enough for toes as well. There's usually just enough for the heel. That's a reasonably sized mini, but I'll see what happens. I'll see what I've got left. I have plenty of yarn to just do the toes in that, because I typically have quite a bit left over in my socks after I finish a sock. I don't have humongous feet, and I don't have super long leg part that I knit either. So I really love this yarn. It's got all these nice pops of red, navy blue, the brown, and the cream, and I like that it's not really pooling anywhere. It's just very nicely variegated. And I put a donut progress keeper on there because it's a Gilmore Girls themed yarn. It's a reference to an episode of theirs around Christmas time. And Lorelai and Rory are constantly eating donuts from Luke's. So, I'm just doing a plain vanilla sock, 64 stitches on 2.5mm needles. And that is going well. I've not checked on when that cal ends, if it ends at the end of July or the end of August. I don't know if I will finish them in time if it ends in July. But I also need to work on my Box O socks for Kristen's year-long Box O socks cow. I think I have 4 pairs done. So I need to get my button gear on those. I have a lot of single socks completed. So I think if I just knit pairs for all of my single socks, I've got the Hidden Stairways. I've got a pair of Felici that's not the Neapolitan that I have one of. I have, shoot, there's one other one I only have one of. Maybe I'm thinking of my husband's sock, because I only have one of that one. But anyway, that would be 2 more pair, right? And then I think once I finish the Oracle shawl, I'm going to kind of focus on doing a little bit more socks, just because I would like to get some more pair for my husband ready. He is really enjoying wearing hand knit socks, and going into the school year this year, he wants to have more to alternate with, because he also wears them to the gym and for walking every morning and stuff. So he does need more pairs to put into the mix. So that is my Christmas socks. And then the last thing I've done kind of any work on is the socks for Megwin. And again, I'm trying to get some socks. Sorry, the stitch marker's stuck on something. I'm trying to get some socks ready for her for the school year as well. So I have 1 pair for her so far, but I want to have at least like 3 or 4 pair ready for her. They're pretty quick to knit up because her legs are not that big, nor are her feet. Though I do use a 56 stitch variant for her, so it's not that far off from mine. It's just that the leg and foot aren't as long. So I'm using the No Makers Hermione colorway. This is in Bungalow Gnome, which is the BFL base. And then I'm going to use some leftover Scruffy Gnome in the Strawberries colorway for heels and toes. And then I should have enough to also do a pair for me that will be matching, because I really love this yarn and I want some socks for myself out of it too. See, isn't it pretty? It's so nice. And that Progress Keeper is a mermaid. It's pretty huge for this tiny, tiny sock. This one is from the Bad Wolf Girl Studios Etsy shop. And I'm sorry. That is all of my whips. So, sewing, before I move on to acquisitions. I worked on my, oh my god, there goes everything. I'm using my box that I typically have these things sitting on. And so, they are free-forming it on the pile of yarn over there. And it's not a good place to perch those things. So I was making them out of this llama fabric, and last weekend I had a little bit of extra time to put some sewing time in. So I did I had done the leg seams, so I put the legs together, I did the inseam, and then I did the waistband and casing, and then I put the elastic in, and I have not sewed this closed yet, and I tried them on. Now, remember that I said I felt like these were really big, like really big. They seemed huge. I have a straight pin in the back just so that I know what the back is. I said, I wonder if I'm making pants for my husband because they looked that big. I totally made pants for my husband. They fit him. Now, they were a little bit tight in the butt area, but otherwise, they totally fit him. Now, I made the size on the pattern envelope that corresponded with my measurements. I made a little bit larger waist, and then I graded down to the hip size that would have corresponded with my hip measurement. Then I learned something that I want to share with all of you because I felt like it was quite a revelation for me. I was talking to Kristen and saying, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I don't understand why. I made the size on the envelope that matches my measurements. Why does this not work? And she said, well, what is the size on the printed pattern, the finished measurements? And I said, okay, let me go check that. And I looked on the pattern, and the finished measurements for the size that I sewed were multiple inches larger than the size that it said on the outside of the pattern envelope, because they have a lot of ease built into the sewing pattern. Now, they don't tell you that going in. Had I known that, I would have selected an extra small. Instead, I made a large for the waist, and I graded down to a medium for the hips. The extra small, the hip measurement is my hip measurement. So I really should have made the extra small. It's actually like an inch bigger than my hip measurement, but that would be an okay amount of ease. Like, that seems reasonable for pajama pants. I want them to be a little bit loose, and then the length is the same regardless of whatever size that you use, and then you can lengthen or shorten the legs depending. I felt like the length was okay. It was fine for my husband, and if I had hemmed it some, it would have been fine for me as well. So I didn't mind like doing a significant hem. Right now I just zigzagged along the edge just to keep it from fraying, and then I was gonna hem it. So now I'm gonna try to salvage these by cutting off the waistband because they're way too long. They're big enough that I can actually pull them up like under my chest, so my full abdomen is covered. It's ridiculous. And then they're way too big, obviously, in the thigh area, the hip area, and the legs. My husband is 235 pounds and 6'1", if that gives you an idea of how big these turned out. I'm like 5'4", and I weigh around 135, so there's a pretty big size difference between the two of us, so it's ridiculous. So anyway, public service announcement: look at the finished measurements on the printed pattern and select your size accordingly. Given that, there's going to be a thunderstorm. Sorry, there's thunderstorms all day long. Given that, the skirt that I was going to make out of some pink fabric that I have, I was going to select I think I did the size 18, and then I was grading it down to a 14 for the hips. Well, I looked on the finished measurements of that, and it said all finished measurements provide 7.5 inches of ease. 7.5 inches. That's ridiculous. So if I make the waist size from the pattern envelope that corresponds with my waist, I'm going to end up 7.5 inches too big for my waist. Obviously that would fall off of me because it does not have an elastic waist. It is a normal zippered skirt. So I'm going to have to go back and redo my pattern cutout. I think I'm going to go with the 10, which adding on 7 inches will be about 1 inch of ease from my waist measurement, and I hope that's going to be okay. Now, Kristen did say that her experience is that the indie patterns are better about the measurements, and they're more true to size. They don't have all of this crazy amount of ease built in. So I'm hoping the Colette patterns are not like this, because they are independently designed. They're not like one of the big brands, and that I won't have to make such significant size difference selections. But it has made me feel a little bit less confident about sewing, for sure, because now I'm not sure what size I should be selecting. So I don't know, guys. I'm gonna just make it happen. I think if I select the size 10 and it's still a little bit too big, then I can always increase the seams a little bit. That's what I'm going to try to do with these pants, is I'm going to take the seams in. I'm going to look at the pattern and see what's the difference between the extra small and the size that I did, and do that big of a seam allowance all over, and then cut off the extra material. And I think that that will make them fit me. I hope. So anyway, I want to make a couple of dresses and skirts for Megwin to start off school with, which I mentioned is starting in not very long, a couple of weeks. So I did get a little bit more material for her, because she loves science, and my husband worked in chemistry before he stayed home with the children. So it's just lots of fun. Like, there's some flasks, there's a microscope, an atom, some different chemical formulas. Yeah, it's fun. So I'm thinking this will be the bottom of a dress, and then I'm going to use this for the top of the dress. Kind of like it's bubbling. I think that'll be fun. And then I'm also going to use what's left of this for lining a bag out of the Narwhals, Mermaids and Narwhals fabric. Somewhere Beyond the Sea is what this print is called. So I'm going to do that with this lining. So that'll be fun. So those were my new fabric acquisitions. And then I also got some yarn. So at Joann's, I got a ball of Patons Kroy blue stripe drag to make the last sock to match this guy. And then I will be done with the blue stripe drag sock saga. Apparently I can find the single sock of this, but I can't find my stinking Felici. I also got some Deborah Norville Serenity sock. Sarah from Love Sock Wool podcast is always talking about this yarn. And so Sarah, you absolutely enabled me. I had a 25% off coupon. So I thought, why not? I'm going to try it and make a pair. And I thought it would also make a good pair for Megwin. So I'll make a pair for me, pair for Megwin. Like I said, her socks don't take that much. And Sarah said it holds up really well. So I think it's a merino bamboo nylon blend. And then the last kind I got is some more Patons Kroy FX. This one is a... it's kind of like a teal or sage green with some brown, and the FX socks are like this, so they tend to be like a gradient. So I thought either socks for my husband or socks for me. This would probably make a good pair of socks for Josh. So that is that. And then once I finished the Felici socks, I wanted to make another pair out of the other Felici from my Aunt Lynn's stash. So this was the other color I managed to get. It is Felici Sport Sticks and Stones. And it's got a light gray, It's another one of those that has a variegated stripe. So the variegated stripe is like this, it looks very stone-like. It's kind of taupe with gray marled, and then it's got a light brown, a dark brown, and a charcoal stripe. And then I'll probably do either charcoal heels and toes. That's probably what I'll do because I have some more left of that Mad Tosh sock in steamer trunk gray. I still have some of that. That is like the skein that keeps on giving. I've done part of my exploration station, heels and toes for my husband's socks, and I still have enough for probably heels and toes in my socks, and maybe heels and toes for kids' socks. It's a lot. So those were the ones I got there. And then I got a skein of yarn from Moonstone Dye Works, which is the company that Tommy of Squirrel Pie Productions has on Etsy. And it is her merino fingering base, so it's 100% superwash merino. The colorway name is Atomic Rust. I had a really big lighting shift. I think because it's getting ready to storm, it's gotten a lot darker, so now everything looks kind of orangey, at least on my screen. Sorry about that. So here it is. I took a picture of it next to my purple coneflowers. And this is the exact shade of purple coneflowers. So I will insert that picture here in case you don't follow me on Instagram so that you can see it, because it's amazing. Isn't that cool? And it even has the, it's got like, I wouldn't call it speckles, it's more like streaks of this orangey brown, which perfectly corresponds with the centers of purple coneflowers. They have like an orangey brown middle. So that was what I thought of when I saw it online, and I'm very happy that it truly is that color because it's so beautiful and so fun. So this I think I will save for a shawl. I needed more kind of solid colors to mix in on my shawls, so I think this one will be in a shawl at some point, and I just wanted to try out some of Tommy's yarn. So thank you, Tommy. It's very, very beautiful. And then she also included a mini, but I don't know what this colorway is. It is beautiful though. It's gray, but then it has all of these rainbow speckles. They're very subtle. I would love to have a skein of this colorway. And that little bright pop-up yellow. Oh, it just gets me. It might be her floating colorway, or, shoot, there's a new one she just came up with, so it could be that one as well. I don't know. I am not sure which it is, and it did not have a label on it. That's that. And then the next two I'm going to show you are club colorways. So if you are part of the Adelaide Cottage Gilmore Girls Club or the Twin Steaks Volenvine Club, you want to look away now. Okay. I think pretty much everybody has received at least the Twin Steaks one by now, but the Adelaide Cottage one I'm not so sure about, and she's really specific about no spoilers. Wow, it's really weird lighting. So the Twin Steaks one is all Twin Peaks inspired yarns, and the Twin Peaks just released a new series called Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me, and it is like the continuation 25 years later of the story, which I'm super excited about. It's only on Showtime, but I found out this morning that on Amazon you can do a 7-day free trial of the Amazon Showtime channel. So I might do that and then just binge watch the first season. But it's hard to binge watch because my kids, I try to be careful what I watch when they're in the room. And I don't know yet if this one will or will not be appropriate for them. The original Twin Peaks was fine. There was a ton of dialogue. So a lot of times, like, what would have been a little bit disturbing, like, it's just people standing there talking to each other. And I wear noise canceling headphones when I'm watching anything on Netflix, other than if it's something that specifically the kids can watch as well. So they wouldn't have heard anything anyway. So this first installment is so pretty. It is on her Nouveau base, and it is called Huckleberry Pie. And this is totally getting blown out. It is not this orangey at all. It is more of a berry color with some peaches and speckles of brown, like the crust. So let me see if I can get it to do the color at any justice at all. I'll insert a picture too, and then it also has this very deep wine color. So my thought is that I'm actually going to pair this with my Velvet Grapes color from Malabrigo. And I think those will make a beautiful shawl. Yay, I love them. So that will be my first one. And then the second one, the Adelaide Cottage, I got a skein of yarn and a stitch marker, which I've got right now as a zipper pull on the bag that I made. So it is from A Stitch Runs Through It. A Stitch Runs Through It? I think so. And it says Gilmore Girls on one side, and on the other side it says, "I'm ready to wallow, Mom, Rory." And it's a quote from the episode where she breaks up with Dean, and then she like goes all crazy and manic and does a whole bunch of stuff, and then at the end she kind of breaks down and she's in her pajamas eating ice cream and pizza and all kinds of stuff. So that's fun. And then the colorway is also called that, "I'm Ready to Wallow, Mom." And she took the colors from that scene, so kind of the cream color for the ice cream, the gold for the beginning of that episode. Rory was wearing a gold sweater, and then there's flecks of blue in it because Lorelai was wearing a blue sweater. And it's just so pretty. I've never had any Adelaide Cottage yarn before. I definitely will be getting more at some point, but I will also be getting 3 months of this delightful yarn club. So this is on her Toasty Sock base. It's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 400 yards. I think this will be socks. I just need to find a pattern for it. It's pretty uniform, so I think I could do patterned socks with it and it would still be very pretty. It wouldn't obscure the pattern too much. So that is all my yarny acquisitions, and then I did get one other sewing acquisition, which I'm really excited about, guys. I'm so excited! So I posted on Instagram that I kind of was in the market for some better sewing scissors because I have my rotary cutter and I have like these little squeezy scissors. They're like straight handles and then a straight blade, but they are squeezy. But the blade was very small and they weren't really great for cutting out fabric. Just because they didn't have a good angle on them to cut the fabric. So I was wanting some high quality sewing scissors that I then would not need to buy another pair for at least a little while. As I mentioned, I had the 25% off coupon from Joann's, and many people, the consensus was to get the Gingher 8-inch knife blade scissors. So I did. And they come in this very nice plastic holster, which is great for storing them. It keeps them safe, and it keeps my children away from them. They're upstairs anyway, so Joshua doesn't really come up here. But it kind of is a good reminder to Megwin that these are not scissors for her. Sorry. As I was saying, I'm really happy about them. So they are kind of heavy, but that's actually good. It kind of helps me control them a little bit more. And I use them to cut part of my pants. I don't remember what I was cutting on them. And then I also cut the fabric for my bag with them, and they are like butter, guys. So nice. Very smooth cutting, and they can be sharpened, which is great. So I am really happy. Thank you all for your great recommendations. I'm really happy with them, and I'm looking forward to doing more sewing with them in the near future. Obviously, for Megwin's thing. I think that's everything I have to show you guys for this week. As far as stuff that's been going on, I already mentioned the flooding that happened last weekend, so that was pretty much the highlight of the weekend. Otherwise, we've not really been doing a lot. We were supposed to get some couches from a friend of mine today. That may or may not happen. It's been raining really hard here. We're expected to get thunderstorms essentially all day. So if it rains all day, they cannot come over because they just have an open truck to bring them in, and they don't have like a tarp large enough to put over the couch. So we'll see if like there's a big enough break in the rain that they can make it over here and back in time, then maybe we'll still do it. But the couch is purple, which I'm so excited about. And then the other piece of furniture they're giving us is an oversized chair, which I'm sort of hoping to use as my knitting chair downstairs. I have not had a comfortable place to sit for a while. The couch we got from my mom, the kids love it and Josh loves it, but it just does not really fit with the way I sit. It's a double reclining love seat. And when you sit in the chairs, like they're kind of rocking, they don't have an arm on both sides. So it's like the two outer sides and then the middle doesn't have an arm. And when I sit in them, I have very short legs. I have a long torso, but short legs. So my feet don't touch the ground. So then I tend to sit with my legs crossed. And when I do that, I'm like rocking. So then I have to put the footrest up. But the footrest has sort of a minimum tilt to it, so I'm kind of laying back like this. So knitting partially reclined is not something that I enjoy. I like to sit up very straight when I'm knitting. So it's just not comfortable for me. So I never sit on that couch. The kids do, like I said, Josh does as well, but I do not. So I always sit at my desk chair, but it would be nice to be able to go and sit with the kids and cuddle a little bit while I'm knitting. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited about that. And the oversizedness will mean that the kids could probably fit next to me on it. And they're excited too about the purple couch and that it's going to have more space for them. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. If we get it, I might podcast from down there one day because I could show it to you guys then. So that's all I've got. Keep on working on your Random Fandoms items. I think what I'm going to do for my next cal is finish all the things cal, because I have a lot of WIPs piling up and I would like to complete them. Like I said, I have a lot of single socks. I have a couple of sweaters that I've started that I'd like to complete, and hopefully that will be motivation for me and maybe for you to finish up some WIPs that you've got brewing. And I also need to touch base with Meg because I'd like to co-host a cal with her, but I know she's pretty much booked up until like September-ish, so maybe we can think of one to do like in the fall time frame. So yeah, I'm gonna see if I can message her and see what ideas she has. So the kids are home. I'm gonna go out and try out doing hash brown waffles and see how those come out, because Tommy has totally enabled me. She's waffling all the things, and I want to try to waffle hash browns too. So until next time, have a great 2 weeks, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, bye-bye.